Hey guys, Marsingan here, bringing a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle video. And so, of course, today, as part of the beginning of the Gohan Goku Goten Day celebration, we have once again received these Book of War items available to use at the barbershop. Everybody should have gotten 3 of these today to use as you choose, with various different characters available, and we are going to talk about which of those characters I would recommend that you get. Now, this thing is very interesting, right? Because every now and then we get the things like the red stone. The blue stone is usually only a purchasable thing, but the red stone allows you to pick a character from a list, and we're seeing a lot of those characters now being included in the list of units that are getting super easy A's. And so it has pretty much become the case that the best options for your redstones now are for these super easy A characters, which is why one of the big things I would recommend, I mean, this is a side note, obviously the Golden Week celebration has been going on for a little while now, so I imagine a few people out there probably have used their redstone already, but I would always recommend saving your redstones that you get at the beginning of these kind of celebrations until right at the end, pretty much like the last day they're available to be used. Because if we get a random surprise super easy A drop at like the end of Golden Week and that unit is available with red stones, they turn out to be really good, but you don't have them, then there you go, there's the perfect candidate for your red stone. Last year, right at the end of the Golden Week celebration, was when we got the physical Kid Buu super easy A. It's actually kind of crazy to think, I hadn't really put a lot of thought into it before now, but like it's kind of crazy to think we've been getting super easy A's for over a year now. But yeah, so that's something to bear in mind. That is a side note, however, because the thing with these characters, which I think is weird, like it's cool that they still do this every Gohan, Goku and Goten Day, and they've been expanding the roster of characters that are available every time, because the first time they ever did this, you could literally just get these 3 characters, right? The 3 family Kamehameha, STR Goku, AGL Gohan, and STR Goten. And then I think even the second time they did it, you could only get them. And then eventually at one point they started adding a couple of other characters. And to be fair, the list is definitely a lot bigger now. This is what we got: 15, 19, 22 different characters that are available. So there's quite a few different ones to choose from. But unfortunately, when it comes down to like which one should you choose, because we were talking about this on the stream this morning, that's why I decided to make the video, because somebody in chat asked about it and then we were kind of discussing it, is unfortunately there's not really a lot of like top tier options here that are actually still relevant in the meta. So I want to give my thoughts on like the 1 or 2 units that I think maybe are worth picking up. Now, the one thing I do think is cool, which they've started to do with the red and blue stones now, which I think is really interesting. So starting this time, the characters available for exchange will be Dokkan Awakened characters. So that's always good, because it used to be the case that with the red stone and like these free Book of War or like whatever items you would get for certain celebrations that could be exchanged for characters, they would only be for the SSR, right? So then you would still have to go off and like farm the medals and do all of that stuff in order to get the character awakened and actually use them. So I do appreciate that this is the case. However, the funny thing is now, of course, that apart from one, like all of the characters on this list all have an easy A already. So I guess it's fair that they're not going to give out like already easy A'd versions of the characters, but like you still have to then go and easy A these characters, and most of them are sub easy A's as well, right? So even if you've already beaten the Extreme Z battle for whoever the main character was, you've now got to go back and do the thing where you replay the stages with a stamina cost in order to get the medals to easy A these characters. So that's something to bear in mind as well. You can't just grab these guys and then use them straight away unless you already have those medals available, right? So when it comes to who to pick from the list, I mean, realistically, funnily enough, the only 3 units that I'm really going to talk about in any great detail are all on this top row. When it comes to these guys, I mean, the fact that these, like, they're not going to take these guys off, I guess, but the original like trio family Kamehameha units, these guys are so outdated now. And it is kind of a shame that like STR Super Saiyan 3 Goku is on here, but not the AGL one, the one that has the Super Easy A. Like the AGL Super Saiyan 3 Goku being on here would probably make him the best, like one of, if not the best pick for the list, right? But instead we've got these old characters like the physical Super Saiyan Goku, STR Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, like these older Ultimate Gohans. Like, these units all were somewhat useful potentially when they first EZA'd, but are just like completely useless now, realistically. Like, none of these guys on these bottom tiers are really of any use whatsoever. So we'll go over these three characters here that I think are at least somewhat worthwhile, and we will talk about why, right? So first off, we have this guy. This is the STR Super Saiyan Goku that got his EZA not super long ago. I personally didn't really rate him on release, but I saw a lot of people saying that like they were able to get some good use out of this guy, right? He's got a decent amount of stats. He has the survive KO attacks once within the turn, and then if HP is 59% or less when receiving an attack, he gets a bunch of extra attack and defense, and his attacks are effective against all types. So he can be pretty tanky when you're on low HP. If HP is 20% or less when receiving an attack, first time guaranteed he dodges within the turn, and then he gets attack and defense 100%, launches an additional super attack. So the interesting thing about this, and then he also recovers 59% HP if you're at 20% or less at the end of the turn. So the reason why they've done this is because the survive KO attacks mechanic has always been kind of worthless, because you survive on 1 HP and then instantly die to any other attack, because it's impossible unless you negate a super or counter a super. Like, no, your units in Dokkan can't take 0 damage. So what would happen is this guy would survive a KO attack and then just get hit by a normal, even if it was for double digits, and then die. But what they've done here is, if that was the case, like if he gets hit by a super, he drops down to 1 HP, then he will automatically dodge the next attack. And then ideally, if there's another one after that, then you're in trouble, obviously. But he automatically dodges the next attack, and then at the end of the turn, you heal 59% HP. The problem, of course, if there's a third attack, then you're just dead. And obviously, if there's anyone else on the rotation getting hit after he dodges that other attack that follows up, then you're just dead. So, unfortunately, he's not like a super top tier character. He massively raises attack for 1 turn, but doesn't raise defense for 1 turn. So like realistically, I showcased this guy when his EZA came out. I wasn't super impressed, but for some reason I saw, especially on like Twitter, people were just for some reason really into this guy like after his EZA, and I saw him getting some use for some challenge runs and stuff. So he could be somewhat okay. And then the more recent EZA was this TEQ Goten. He got his EZA at the end of the year, around the time that the LR Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks came out. He is okay. Attack and defense 180. He supports Gifted Warriors or Siblings Bond 3 key and 60%, which is quite a lot. Gifted Warriors has like Vegetas on it. Obviously the other Gotens and Trunkses and stuff. It's not bad for a support. He builds up with each attack performed. When there's another Gifted Warrior Sibling Bond ally in the same turn, he gets extra attack and defense and a 50% chance to dodge. And then in slot 3, which is basically his role to be a slot 3 support, he has extra dodge and then a high chance of getting an additional super, and he does raise attack and defense on his super attack. So if you get the hidden potential additional as well, in slot 3 he has a 70% chance to dodge and can super 3 times, therefore raising his defense 3 times, while giving 60% support to some of the characters that you want to run him with. So against some of the toughest bosses, obviously he is very much going to be like a dodge or die sort of character, but he is providing pretty decent support. Like, his stats are not completely terrible. So when it comes to, you know, the limited options of characters that we have on this list, like, he does end up being one of the more like relevant options to choose, and at least he is providing support to some decent characters. Obviously the AGL Vegeta from the anniversary is of course a Gifted Warrior character, the one that becomes Gogeta. Obviously he is a Gifted Warrior category character, so this guy supports him with the 60%, which is a pretty decent amount of support, to be fair. So this guy, I would say, if it was down to me, I would say this guy's probably better than the STR Goku. Like, if you were going to pick one of the two, I think this guy probably is better than the Goku. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, and this is a bit of a wild card, shout out to Bringer for mentioning this on the stream before, but I've mentioned at the beginning, only one of the units on that list of characters that are available doesn't have an EZA, and that is this character right here, the TEQ GT Gohan and Goten. So it's one of those things, if you want to be, if you're a gambling man, as they say, I guess, you know, we're playing a gacha game at the end of the day, so I guess there's always going to be that little bit of the aspect there. These guys don't have an easy A yet, so their future is uncertain. You could, if you really wanted to, get these guys with your Book of War like tokens, and then just essentially cross our fingers that they get a really good easy A. Because we know we're going to have, at some point soon, because he's one of the oldest TURs without an easy A, at some point soon we should be getting the Int Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta easy A. And it's very, very possible that, obviously, unless they fumble catastrophically, that his easy A will be very, very good. And these guys support GT heroes. Now, they obviously don't do much else because they're quite old and don't have an easy A. So they just get an additional attack that has a medium chance to become a super, 150% attack and defense on super, and then they are greatly raising attack and defense with their super attack effect. Well, the stats are on attack, but it's with 12 or more keys. So as a TUR, that just means when they super, right? So they're pretty bare bones, but with an easy A, like, they could easily be, you know, they're going to have much higher stats, increase their chance for an additional to become a super. The GT hero support is going to be really good. Maybe give them some sort of damage reduction or dodge or something, especially, you know, like the Goten. Maybe if they're in slot 3, they get some sort of extra defensive mechanic, because realistically that's all we really want to use them for, as a slot 3 support. And then these guys have the potential to be really, really good with the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, any other big GT buffs that we get. These guys can then be there on the team supporting GT heroes. But as I say, that one is an interesting option, but you are taking a risk, because we don't know when they might not get an easy A for over a year for all we know. And then they could get an easy A and it could be terrible. But realistically, out of all the options on the list, I mean, these guys, they're not usable now. At least Goten is usable now, and Goku to a certain degree. Nobody else on the team really is anyone that I would particularly worry about. That's the actual celebration info. There's the list. None of these other guys really are just usable at all in the meta currently. So realistically, I think out of the units that you can use now, your best choice for the unit is going to be the TEQ Goten. Second best, obviously usable now, is the Goku. But if you want to maybe invest for the future and hope for the best, the TEQ Gohan and Goten. Now, obviously, we do get 3 of those Book of War things. So if you can't decide and you just want to sort of hedge your bets, I guess just get one of each of those 3, right, and see what happens. But that's what I recommend. If you're going to get a unit that you want to use now, TEQ Goten is probably the only one that is still kind of good and kind of usable. Otherwise, I would say, why not take the risk and bet on the Gohan and Goten from GT? Because if they do get a good easy A, as soon as GT Heroes get some buffs, which, I mean, that's, to be fair, they'll probably only easy A during a GT-based celebration anyway. And so then they'll become a unit that you're going to be running on the team with the new characters, with them providing support to the whole of the GT Heroes setup. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Obviously, if you've used your Book of War items already, let me know which characters you did pick and why. Obviously, I didn't mention because they don't show it on the image, but you can also get an Elder Kai instead. But, you know, Kais are a lot easier to get now than they used to be. I mean, I have so many that even though I don't need any of these units, it feels like a waste to me to get a Kai with them. But, I mean, I don't really know who else I'm going to choose. I guess it's one of those, like, maybe I'll get a Gohan, the GT Gohan and Goten as well. For now, just then obviously if they get an easy A in the future at some point and I want to change their hidden potential, I guess then I can just do that with the spare copy that I got. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.